Welcome in, Big Blue Nation, to another episode of the Cats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Johnston, joined by my co-host in person today, Tyler Britton. No Jacob Boyers here today. As you can see, we've got him here in spirit, but he couldn't make it to the live in-person taping. Because guess what, Tyler? For the first time, basically in my adult life, 2020 doesn't count because of the COVID season, but the Cincinnati Reds have made the playoffs. They played today at 9:08. We're recording this just before 9, so we're going to try and wrap up here. More than likely to see them lose to the Dodgers, but a fan can have a dream. That's what we're going to do. That's why Jacob is not here. I think the Cats take first priority. I think you'd agree on that one as opposed to the Reds. So, Jacob, a little disappointed in you not being here. But other than the Reds making the playoffs, biggest news from the weekend outside of the Kentucky game, which unfortunately we're going to dive into a little later. 5-star point guard, Taylon Kinney, from Newport High School. Newport's 5 minutes from us, Tyler? Just right down the road. Makes his decision, commits to the University of Kansas, which some took as a little bit of a shock, but if you've listened to anything for the past week, it's been leaning towards the Jayhawks. Tyler, what do you think about a 5-star guard from the state of Kentucky leaving to go, as you mentioned it off air, down the Yellow Brick Road?
Yeah, you would love to see a guy from Kentucky go to the University of Kentucky, especially a 5-star recruit like him. But, if you don't want to, I think what Mark Pope's building with the culture down in Lexington here, if you don't want to be there, you don't want to be there. If he wants to go to Kansas and go watch Wizard of Oz and do all that stuff there, fine. We're going to have to beat him there. No big deal. We're going to get some other good guys down in Lexington. We're going to have a good team this year regardless.
Yeah, and I was actually at the event in Newport, had it at the local high school. First off, lots of people. Glad to see that so many people turned out because, he hasn't played for Newport High School in a couple of years. So seeing that everybody still has those ties and he has those ties to the community was really cool to see. But I mentioned to you, I took my nephew and, man, I never feel older than when I take my nephew anywhere. Of course, he's all up on the trends, and just saying all up on the trends makes me feel like I'm 1,000 years old, just in general. But, of course, you got the 6'7". That's what TK is known for. So he really wanted to meet him. He was able to get a picture with him, do all of that. But one thing I did pick out from the interview was he said Bill Self told him he was going to be in Kansas for 10 months. And that was something that really sold him on going to Kansas. That he's only going to be there and then take that step to the next level. I'm not sure if that's something that Mark Pope was promising him. And I'm not sure if that's something that, caused the drift between UK and Taylon Kinney. But if I had to guess, that's probably where it started. But nonetheless, good to see a local kid get his opportunity to shine. He's going to be out in Kansas, probably putting up big numbers for that Jayhawks team because I don't expect them to be that good. They really haven't been good for quite a while under Bill Self, so hopefully Taylon Kinney can change that for them. Or let's just be real. Hopefully not. Hopefully they're not very good. Good luck to you, TK, in whatever you do, but you're not beating Kentucky.
All right. All I can say is, he won't be in the SEC tournament this year when we're down there, so, we don't have to worry about him.
Yeah, he definitely won't, but there's two problems with that. First off, he's a recruit for the following year, so there's problem number one with that. And Kansas is not in the SEC, which I think is the original point you're going for there. But we had two to go there. All right, now more bad news. You miss out on a 5-star. Obviously, Kentucky probably finished 4th in that race. Just terrible news. Terrible game. As a Kentucky and a Bengals fan, if you would have told me at the beginning of the year that the Cats have a better offense than the Bengals, I would have said Kentucky's either undefeated or Joe got hurt, which obviously Joe has got hurt, and that's where we're at now. But Cats lose to South Carolina, 35-13. Really just an ugly, ugly game, and really all inspired just from one quarter of football.
Yeah, it was really atrocious to watch there, Cam. We're watching the first quarter. I turned it on. I was sitting watching the game up in Toledo with my dad, and trying to make some light of it. Hey, Dad, I'm doing this thing with the Cats Talk Pod. I'm reporting on the team. I want to watch this game. And what do the Cats do? They really just lay an egg for the last 3 quarters there. I thought they started okay the first quarter. They put up a touchdown, got a field goal there, and then it just turned into Cats football. From that point forward, you had turnover after turnover. We just couldn't get a stop. Norris Sellers was looking incredible on the field. We were making him look like Michael Vick out there. I think they were making that announcement. The broadcasters were talking about it. He looked like old Michael Vick out there. It was just like, what do we got to do? our defense is no longer stepping up. Our offense isn't helping them to make them want to play. So what's going on here?
I mean, that's a $9 million question that you think Mark Stoops gets paid to answer. And unfortunately, he just hasn't had those answers. And the really damning part to me about this team is like you see bits and pieces of a team that could be at least competitive and beat teams like South Carolina. You see him get up to a 8-play, 65-yard drive, score with Seth McGowan to start the game. And then even the next drive, you march down, get 3. Jacob Callaway, by the way, which was kind of a question mark coming into the year. He's looked terrific, and I trust him anywhere from like 55 in. And to say that about a college kicker is crazy. But you go from scoring on back-to-back drives to the offense just not doing anything. You end up having 4 straight turnovers. You have a fumble that Shiaz Pete, I mean, what? It looked like Shiaz might have just downed 4 or 5 shots and was trying to, he saw like 4 different footballs out there to try and dive on. And of course, in typical Kentucky fashion, that goes the distance. They score. Very next drive, pick 6. All of a sudden, you're down 21-10. And I don't know about you, Tyler. You get down 21-10 with the way this offense has produced and the offensive play calling that we'd seen so far. I wasn't confident coming back. I thought the game was pretty much over. And really, from that point, it was.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, as soon as we got down to 21-10, I was already thinking, hey, what channel can I switch this over to? It's I don't really want to watch this game. There's plenty of other TV to watch, plenty of other games. I was very disappointed after that first quarter there. I mean, what do we do at the quarterback position anymore? I mean, Cutter Boley, there was a lot of hype. There were people, I mean, Jacob's one of them. Jacob was saying, like, he's going to come in. He's going to be more of the guy. I'm really not seeing that much of an improvement. Are you?
No, I mean, I know you guys heard me, and I tried to put almost a wet blanket on the fire when everybody was talking about, oh, we've got Cutter as the backup, we've got Cutter as the backup. The same problems that Zach Calzada had, the same problems that Cutter has. The pocket presence is not there. You saw that in the strip sack fumble that got returned for 6. You see it later in the game. I think we gave up 6 sacks in this game. If I'm being nice, 3 were on the offensive line and were their problem. 3 of them were either just coverage sacks or Cutter's ability not to get rid of the ball when he should. And it's just a full system failure between the offensive line, receivers not getting open, and the quarterback position just not hitting open reads when he has them, and then just not being able to move off first progressions. And I think that's really where Cutter or Zach have not been able to do that. And to be honest with you, Tyler, I was going to wait till a little bit later in this one, but I'm not against throwing Zach out there if it gets much worse, because Cutter really had 4 or 5 turnover-worthy plays, even though he only ended up having 3 for the day.
No, I'm in full agreement there. I mean, look, we were talking about it before the season. I think Boyers was the only one that really wanted him yanked early. But I was in more of a favor to watch Zach play a little bit later into the season. Obviously, we're going to be hitting the hard stretch here. But just giving Zach a little bit more time to work in this offense, it wasn't going to make a difference, in my opinion, whether Zach was playing or Cutter was playing. I was trying to give Cutter a little bit more time to sit and watch more of a veteran quarterback, because Brock Vandagriff last year was just getting hit all the time. We had no offensive line. This year, I mean, I'm not saying it's a great offensive line, but I would say there's been some improvement there. But Cutter went out there, and I'll tell you what, I don't know if you saw it, he finished the day with a 10.8 QBR. A 10.8 QBR. That's terrible. Meanwhile, Lenore Sells is finishing with a 94.8. So, exact opposite ends of the spectrum. We just have no competition in the passing game, and it puts all the pressure on our run game. And I know that's supposed to be our identity, but we were only able to put 108 yards rushing on the field. So it's just not a recipe for success. You have to have some sort of veteran leadership back there. In my opinion, I would have left Zach out there. It's going to be really awkward trying to go back to Zach, and then how is that going to stunt Cutter's development later on if we ever have to go back to him? Is he always going to feel like something is on his back, waiting for him to turn a ball over and then get benched again? I don't think it helps anybody out. I think Cutter's going to be is going to feel awkward. I think Cutter's going to feel awkward. It's just it's going to be a never-ending cycle, and then we're going to be up for a quarterback again this offseason in the transfer portal.
I mean, that's just kind of what happens when you're in quarterback mediocrity. I mean, you see it with NFL teams all the time. Like, think of the Jets, for example. They go get a veteran, bring in a young guy, go back and forth, do this carousel the entire time, just keep spinning their wheels back and forth. And right now, I mean, Kentucky's just inability to find a quarterback is their biggest problem. Now, don't get me wrong. Even if we did have Lenore Sellers on this team, this still isn't more than probably a 6-6 team. This team still has holes that need to be filled, and Cutter or Zach are not going to be able to do that. But the thing I think that's so much different about the ability with this team as opposed to teams of like 2016, 2018, when you had Steven Johnson and Terry Wilson, was the ability that you saw Lenore Sellers put out on the field, and that's the ability to evade sacks and take those negative plays and make them into positive plays. Lenore Sellers ended up being their leading rusher from the quarterback position, and it wasn't close. We don't have that ability right now, either with Zach or with Cutter. And it's not even further on the depth chart if you want to look at the freshmen like Stone Saunders and Brennan Ward. We just don't have that right now. We are trying to play a pro-style offense in which we don't have the bodies and the capability to do that. We don't have the receivers out wide to do it. We don't have the quarterback to make it happen. The only part of the pro-style offense we have right now that's working is the fact that we might have the best back in the SEC in Seth McGowan. Outside of maybe Ahmad Hardy at Missouri, I mean, those are the two that are fighting for 1 and 2. And you look at this game and look at what Seth McGowan does. I don't understand how he's not getting the ball more. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like, we have the fumble return touchdown, the interception, and then we go out on downs to make it our third straight turnover. In that, we get to a 3rd and 3. If you know you're going to go for it on 4th down, why in the world with our passing game are you throwing it on 3rd down and 4th down there? You're telling me 2 carries, Seth McGowan's not getting the first there, and we're putting ourselves near field goal range? Even if you just say you kicked a field goal there, 21-13 and giving up 14 points just based off of your own mistakes, you're starting to feel a little bit better out of the game, and you start to switch that, Uncle Mo, get momentum on your side a little bit, or at least stop the bleeding. And there's certain parts, like, I love the way Bush called the first
drive and a half,
25 snaps. And I usually do. That's usually when we score. Like, think about the Ole Miss game. His scripted plays are usually perfect, and they work out well for us. It just seems like once we get past that script, I don't know if there's pressure from Stoops coming to Bush about what he wants to run or stuff like that. But once we get past those scripted plays, this offense just can't find any cohesion, even though we have a guy who's averaging over 6 a carry and leads the SEC in touchdowns.
Absolutely. I mean, he had 17 carries, 112 yards. I mean, we went back in yardage. I'm sure that's partially because of the sacks, but, I mean, it would be nice to have some support from Dante Dowdell. He only had 13 carries for 24 yards in the game. Kind of a step back for him. He's been playing pretty solid all year. I wouldn't say better than South, but he was able to be complimentary for sure. How much of an impact is it for Dante Dowdell to not necessarily step up in the game on Saturday?
Well, yeah, that's something that I was going to bring up, and I had mentioned this, if you guys remember, before the Eastern Michigan game after Ole Miss. That carry split where you're getting about 50-50 between Seth McGowan and Dante Dowdell, that's got to stop. I said that going into the Eastern Michigan game. I was cool with it during Eastern Michigan because you're going to win that game and you just want to get everybody out healthy. But when you're having 17 carries for Seth, who's averaging over 6 a carry, and Dante, who's barely averaging 2. Dante, we brought him in for a reason. Those were for those short yardages and to get into the end zone. Right now, he's not better at that than Seth any way we look at it. And, I mentioned the spot when it's 3rd and 3 and we know we're going to go for it on 4th. There's your time to use Dante Dowdell. If you know you're going for it on 4th down, you're like, hey, I got 2 carries, we need to get 3 yards here. There's your time. Get Seth McGowan a blow. There's where Dante Dowdell should be used. But it shouldn't be an almost 50-50 split right now, which is what it is. And if you want any shot of winning any of these SEC games, I don't see a world in which you can win any game without Seth McGowan having 20-plus touches.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think for Dante, short yardage, give him a small breather, but Seth is just so explosive out there. Like you said, he probably is the number 1 back in the SEC. He's going to have to carry this offense to the finish line because we're really just not going to get it done anywhere else. Unfortunately, I also feel like that's going to be a problem. So I feel like, as it is, they're already putting 8-man boxes, against us, but it's not even going to be close. They're not even going to try to play the pass. They can cover our guys one-on-one on the outside with no safety help. I mean, that's at least what I've been seeing since we started the season. I mean, we just can't get separation.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I feel like they're doing that now. and he's still averaging over 6 a carry. And the thing we talked about on the podcast before this South Carolina game is South Carolina's lost 2 games already this season because they can't defend the run.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much, like if we got down 21-10, everything's feeling bad. You can tell Cutter's obviously rattled. He gets hit real big by Dylan Stewart, coughs it up. They immediately score. He comes back out, throws a pick. They immediately score. What do you do to help out that redshirt freshman in a hostile environment at Williams-Brice Stadium? What you do is you run the football. And, I mean, it's really all it is to it. There are certain parts of each game plan week in and week out that you can critique after that you're just like, what is the thought process going on here? Because Cutter is not the guy that you can just say, hey, Eight, go win us this football game. We don't have that guy. We haven't had that guy in quite a long time. So it's on the guys around him to step up. You mentioned the receivers and the separation that they're not getting. Bad thing is, like, Bush is scheming them open, and I think in those scripted plays you can see that, but you can't script the whole game. At some point, guys have to make plays. Like, you were a former receiver. At some point, like, it doesn't matter how much you scheme stuff up. If you're not executing, it doesn't matter. I think that's kind of where we're at with this receiving core. And the part that kind of frustrates me is Harley Gilmore, who I think is one of the only guys in that receiver room right now that has true upside that's playing, only had 17 snaps in this game. And I think that I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know if that's something off the field, but I think Harley's got to get more time because if there has been an explosive play by a receiver, it's been by him so far this year. And, man, I mean, just thinking about the receiving room in general, there's so many guys in there that you think that this room can't be that bad. I just don't know what to say. I mean, where's Jamori Macklin? Where has he been this entire season? Troy Stellato didn't play this game. Where's J.J. Hester? Mm-hmm. Where is he? I talked about him during the offseason. Where are these guys? Because it's not all Cutter's fault. It's not all Calzada's fault getting them there. We do miss a lot of open reads, but there are some times where we're just not getting open. And I think there's a lot to be said about the way in which Bush calls these plays and why you see the tight ends so heavily featured is the inability and the lack of confidence in the receiver room. And he mentioned it all during the offseason. You know, we want someone to step up and be that number one. I haven't seen anybody step up and be the number one. If anything, the only thing you've seen is that Josh Caddis and Willie Rodriguez are going to be the guys that they target the passing game.
Sure, absolutely, man. Willie Rodriguez had 2 catches for 66 yards. He led the team in receiving yards. To your point, Kendrick Law was our number 1 target in terms of catches. He had 5 for 44. And
3 of those were of like a jet touch pass variety. So
sure,
average depth of target's a big thing. And if you look at, I don't know, can't remember if it was the first target or the second target that he had. We get him out on like a jet sweep type motion. If he just runs outside of the numbers, he has 6. Instead, he cuts it up. I think it goes for like 6 at the time. But, I mean, there's certain things that it's there. You just got to do it.
Yeah, just like running backs, sometimes a receiver needs to get the ball a few times to get warmed up and get the flow of the game. You know, I think of Derrick Henry, for example, in the NFL. When he doesn't get the ball enough, then, come later in the game, he doesn't have the momentum. But you give him the ball throughout the game, he's going to have that momentum going in the fourth. Some of our receivers, I feel like they just don't get the ball enough to get that. Don't get me wrong, 5 catches, I feel like it's decent, but this is also the first game we've kind of featured him in that way. I think as we give him more touches, that can help him, but I also think that we need to scheme him more than just a touch check pass. He needs to get more out in the flats. He needs to get more physical one-on-one balls. I mean, especially if they're gonna be boxing up our front 7 there, or they're gonna be bunching up with the front 8 there. That's gonna leave a lot of one-on-ones on the outside for potential shots downfield. We're gonna have to just win those in the play action. I think that's another part. I think if we're going to have a pass game, there needs to be an effective play action play in there. So we can get these guys open. We need more production. 10 completions, 19 attempts. It's just not acceptable. I mean, there's a reason why he had a 10.8 QBR. I'm not sure Zach Calzada would have done much better. I understand South Carolina is a very tough environment to go play in, but we just need better production out of the quarterback receiver room. We can't put it all on Seth McGowan for this year. It's just not going to be an effective recipe for success here.
You got to try it. What's the other solutions? Like you mentioned, guys winning one-on-ones. How many games do you need to see before you just accept the fact that they're not going to win one-on-ones? I personally, at least with this receiver room, you've faced two of the worst defenses that you're going to face in the SEC. It's not going to get any easier when you face Georgia or Texas. And then even Florida, who's probably the most winnable SEC game that we have left, their defense is still elite. Their offense just can't do anything. So, you're looking down the schedule, and it's not getting any easier. So you're at the point now where you brought in these veteran running backs and you want to have a two-man workhorse, you're going to have to use them. That's just where we're at. I know they end up having 30 carries together in this game, but you just completely abandoned it there for a while. And I get, there's sometimes where we get into, Seth McGowan only has a 1-yard rush on first down. Now it's 2nd and 9. I don't know about you. 2nd and 9 with 2 carries from Seth McGowan or even 1-and-1 from Seth and Dante. I feel better about picking up that first down there than going through the air 2 times and trying to pick it up. Because right now, whether it's a turnover, it's a tip pass, a drop ball, just nothing is clicking with this receiving core unless it's like a naked boot action where you're catching Willie Rodriguez, like how he caught that one for 55 yards. That's the only way you're getting is usually it's a miscommunication between the defense and there's a naked boot to where the tight end just slips out after play action, and that's how we're getting those big plays of the tight ends. Because even like Josh Caddis, I don't think he had a target in this game. That'd have been our best receiver coming in this game. He doesn't find a way to get a target in a hostile environment. So I don't know what the answer is on offense. Or I know what the answer is. It's whether you want to do it or not is the question. Do you want to give Seth McGowan 25 plus carries a game? I know it's not the prettiest way to do it, but if you want to keep your defense off the field, which you need to, especially at that linebacker unit, we're going to get into that a little bit later. The linebackers are struggling right now, and they need help. Same thing with the secondary. You know what the blueprint is to do it. It's whether or not you feel confident in this coaching staff to be able to do it. And that's the same thing I said coming into this South Carolina game. And that's why I picked Kentucky to lose this game, because I'm not confident in this coaching staff to be able to do it right now. I don't know if it's a top-down approach, if it's everybody wants to point the finger at Bush, point the finger at Mark, Brad White's playing too much soft coverage. Those blames would be going around everywhere. Just somebody's got to be liable for it, and we got to figure that out soon.
Yeah, I totally agree with your point. I think that we're going to have to run this offense through Seth McGowan. The run offense is going to have to carry us through the finish line here. There is a recipe for success there, but that's only if you can have effective plays when you do pass the ball. You can't go 10 for 19 for 124 yards. A couple of those were deep bombs. So you just can't have that and expect to win the game. To your point, 2nd and 9, run the ball twice sounds great, but if they know that's coming, when we saw it with the Dallas Cowboys years ago with DeMarco Murray, every team knew that they were going to run on first down and eventually caught up to them. If you keep doing that on 2nd and 9, I'm not saying that doesn't work in college, but eventually that does catch up to you, especially when we're playing these tough teams in the SEC, Georgia, Texas. We're going to go down the road here. It's going to get tough. It's going to get nasty. To your point, this might have been one of the easier defenses we're facing in the SEC.
Especially for us.
So, it's definitely doable, but we have to have some efficiency, some effectiveness from our passing game. Otherwise, it's just not going to matter. We're going to have more than 3rd 15s like the Bengals did than, the 2nd and 9s. And it's just not going to be pretty. So, but let's turn the page here to the defense. You already brought it up. I wanted to get into that a little bit. Look, 35 points. I know the offense let up a touchdown. I know they let up a lot of turnovers. But 35 points is still a lot of points. Tell me what's going on with the defense. What are you seeing?
I'm honestly, when you look at this, quarterback draft class and just in a whole, there's not a analyst that you look at that has Lenore Sellers outside of the top 3 in this class. And he made those special plays, and you saw that. He ended up with over 80 yards, and a good amount of those were on times where we should have had sacks and negative plays. I think you saw I don't want to say a generational because that's pushing it too far. I think you saw what a great athlete does at the quarterback position and how it can elevate you to win games like this. Our defensive line got after him. And our defensive line, I think, played great in this game. We defended the run very well. South Carolina hasn't been able to run the ball so far this year, and that really kind of stuck true to this game outside of Lenore Sellers being able to escape. The part that I have the issue with on the defense is, because I generally don't think it's their fault that they lost this game. They only gave up 163 passing yards and 170 rushing yards. And like I mentioned, 80 of those were on scrambles from Lenore's. So I'm not putting any of this on the defense. 14 points was straight from the offense, and they had them out there almost the entire game. And just look at like the second half when everything started to settle down. They only gave up 7 points the entire second half when they were actually able to play defense without just like reeling and staying on the field constantly when the offense is just giving them the ball. I mean, that being said, I mean, there's still things you want to see change. There's still things that you want to see growth from. Like David Rayner follows the podcast. Like the guy, seems like a great guy. Seems to be, putting everything he has into it right now. He's so undersized for the linebacker position, and right now he's undersized and he's finding himself out of position at a middle linebacker spot. That first drive, I mean, he had 2 or 3 plays where he's just completely not in the right spot at the right time. Gets him an easy touchdown, tied 7-7. Now, you're not feeling as good with how easily they just went down the field. And they switched that a little bit in the second quarter. They put Landon Watson out there, the transfer from Marshall, a bigger, stockier guy. And it seemed to help out a little bit. I don't think this is on the defense. I would love to see them be able to tackle better. I think that's one of the biggest points for me is just being able to wrap up guys. But then again, we're also talking about Lenore Sellers, who's 6'4" and pretty rocked up and just pretty hard to tackle in general.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I think the only thing that I would change a little bit is, I think we struggle against the mobile quarterback. And in today's generation of mobile quarterbacks, that's a little bit scary. I mean, Lenore Sellers was running on us last year too, if I remember correctly. He was being an athlete last year, and to this point, last year he wasn't really known, so I'll give him a little bit of a break. But this year we knew what Lenore Sellers was coming into this game, so the fact that he was able to run for 81 yards against us on 14 carries is, for me, a little worrisome. And I think that goes a little bit toward the scheme. Obviously, I think we do a little bit more man-to-man. We're very effective with it when we have more of a pocket passer. But the second those quarterbacks start running, those DBs are backs turned to them. You're able to get those extra yards. You're able to squirt through the line and get to the next step. I just get a little worried for later down the road. We're not going to have another quarterback like Lenoris in terms of speed and agility, but teams will look at that and be like, cool, if we can get a second play out of this. Through a quarterback scramble or quarterback draw, we just drop back a little bit. I think that can burn us a little bit down the road too.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for the Cats, really the only athlete that you face that's like that is probably DJ Lackway with Florida. And I already mentioned how bad that offense is.
Sure.
And he's struggling to throw the ball, so you really don't have to worry about him throwing the ball deep like you do with Lenoris. So. I mean, I'll give this defense a break for this one. I mean, they were out the second corner, DJ Waller, who Stoops said in his post-game conference, I mean, the way he said, about DJ's health, doesn't seem like he's projected to be back anytime soon. And, I mean,
sure.
You're talking about top 3 player on your defense that's not going to come back relatively soon. And we know how Stoops is. He's not going to give you anything when it comes to the injury report. He was listed as doubtful coming into this game. Stoops knew he wasn't playing. He's probably not going to play this week at Georgia, which going up against a wide receiver like Zachariah Branch, I mean, unless you have JQ following him around the entire time, it's probably going to create some mismatches that they're going to take advantage of. But, yeah, I mean, you mentioned it with a mobile quarterback. I don't think it's necessarily that. Because, there was some design runs, a lot more than he had the previous week, obviously coming off that concussion. But it's just the ability not to wrap up, I think, is the biggest thing. Because they're putting themselves in positions to. Marquise Humphrey-Grace had a great game. David Gusta is a stud. Tavian Gadsden is developing more and more as a redshirt junior. I mean, this defensive line has done more than I could have asked for. Because, we mentioned how much turnover there was in that group during the offseason. You were bringing in a lot of transfers and asking a lot of guys to step up. And so far, I think they've over-delivered. Now we just need to get the rest of the team to start to get on that wavelength.
Sure, absolutely. And to your point, they did hold Matt Fuller to just 19 carries, 48 yards. That's pretty impressive when you're looking at just the running back situation. I think really the difference is, and kind of what we would kind of hope that Kentucky's offense would do, is Lenore Sellers was still 11 for 14 for 153 yards. I mean, like we said, he had a 94 QBR. He was averaging about 10 yards a pass. He didn't have any touchdowns. He didn't have any interceptions, so he kind of game managed a little bit, but he was able to get those effective balls out. against our defense when the run wasn't working, when it was a play action pass, whatever he had to do, he was able to get it done. Something again, I don't expect to have another Lenore Sellers at Kentucky quarterback position. I don't expect that, but just having the effective pass plays could help our team out a lot.
Yeah, and I think if you look at Lenore's stats, like 11 of 14 for 150 yards, I think that might be all you need to keep yourself at least in games competitive for this Kentucky passing game. And I know we gave you a bunch of crap for saying, 150 yards, you can stay in some of these games. But this running game, like you brought in these guys, Jagger, Jalen Farmer, Alex Wolschlager. I mean, you brought in a lot of these guys to be able to run the ball. All of your top paid guys were on that offensive front and the running backs. Why are we not trying to get the money out of the value there? Why are we not cashing in on that? Because it's working. I mean, you see that. Seth McGowan, 17 carries for 112 yards, and some of those include some negative plays. I don't know if he's still leading the league in touchdowns in the SEC with us having a bye week, but I know he was up there. And right now, it has to be the Seth McGowan show, kind of like it was the Benny Snell show back then. You just need the passing game to do just enough to be able to keep, like you mentioned, guys out of the box, just enough to get them to respect it, whether that's play action, leaking out with Willie Rodriguez or Josh Caddis. I mean, those are the ways that I would try it at first, but, I mean, we've also tried that at certain points, and it hasn't worked as well. I mean, as much as we can talk and dive into this game, it comes down to you had 4 consecutive turnovers in the second quarter. I don't care who you are and who you're playing, you're going to lose that game regardless. Imagine if we do that against Georgia. What's going to happen? Because we just did this against one of the bottom teams in the SEC, bottom 5, bottom 6, the way South Carolina's played so far this year. I think it cements us as the worst team in the SEC, without a doubt. We came in thinking, Mississippi State, we got Mississippi State.
They've looked good.
They'll be below us. They've looked very good.
Even though they lost, they looked impressive until the end. They just couldn't get the job done.
They take Tennessee to the wire. They beat, I think Arizona State was ranked 12th when they beat them. I mean, they've had great success so far. They've already hit their over total for the year. Their line coming in was 3.5. I took the under, and they're 4-1 right now. So I mean, I think we've cemented ourselves as the worst team in the SEC. The only other schools you can argue right now is Arkansas, who just fired Sam Pittman, and Florida, who, I thought Billy Napier was going to get fired last year. We had mentioned that.
And we saved his job last year.
Yeah, I mean, we basically did save his job. So, I mean, those are the only 2 teams you could argue. And right now, I mean, both of those teams have more talent than this Kentucky team does. So you're at the point now where you have to out-scheme teams, and you just can't turn the ball over like we did. And I don't trust this staff or this team to not be able to do it, because we already know that Cutter is going to put the ball in harm's way. What I need to see is, okay, if you're going to do that, I need to see those positive plays from it too as well. Mm-hmm. If you're going to force the ball into tight windows, give up interceptions, stuff like that, I need to see the positive from that side. And something we haven't seen, like even his throws against Eastern Michigan. I mean, he had the big play to Hardly Gilmer. Outside of that, nothing much. Where is that arm talent that we've seen so much? I know nobody's getting open on these deep balls, but at some point, if we're going to keep putting the ball in harm's way, I need to see some big plays, and for that reason, that's probably why, if Calzada is actually fully healthy, I'm not saying this week I'd do it, because I don't know if I want to throw him into at Athens in between the hedges with 100,000 fans, but also don't think I want a redshirt freshman there either. So
I don't know if I want to throw him in for the next 3 weeks, if I'm being honest. At some point, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off, because we are going to hit the halfway point of the season, and I mean, look, we're already kind of falling behind in terms of what we want to do to at least get a bowl game. So that brings up an interesting question, though. With the loss to South Carolina, obviously you already had them losing that game. I actually had them winning, and that was going to be my optimistic viewpoint is, hey, this is going to be kind of the turning point, because obviously we're going to hit the tough stretch of the season here. What does that do for your win-loss record total for the year? I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not looking at it in a positive way that like I was even a week ago.
Well, I told you guys after that Ole Miss game that mine was severely under what I had predicted in the preseason. And that's especially now that you've probably faced 2 of your more winnable games in Ole Miss and South Carolina, and you weren't able to get either one. And what game looks easier now going down the schedule? Florida is probably the only one. Vandy looks so much better than you thought they would be.
Mhm.
Auburn looks a lot better than you thought they would be. Tennessee gave Georgia a run for their money. Tennessee's been playing really well. Georgia just lost to Bama. I mean, their first home loss since 2019.
It was a tight one, too, 24-21.
Yeah. I mean, they just barely lost. I mean, their offense has been struggling. I don't think their offense is going to struggle against our guys. So
They're going to come back motivated. That's the thing that's frustrating is that other teams in the SEC, when they lose a game, they come back the next week and they come back motivated. What do? We lay an egg, basically. We might have a spark for the first quarter. We might have a good drive. What do we do after that?
I mean, I think that speaks to a lot of the Stoops tenure. Like even when things were going perfect, there would be 3 quarters of really good football, and there'd be a quarter where you're like, "What's going on here?" I don't know if it's possible with Stoops at the helm to run 4 consecutive quarters. And this might be a part of a bigger conversation that we'll have to have going later in the season because they're obviously not going to fire him mid-season, even if they are to let him go in the offseason, which the money and everything is a whole other topic we have to talk about. I just think we're at the point now where we try to become like a mini Georgia. He's obviously good friends with Kirby Smart. I think we tried to, win games the way Georgia did, where it was ground and pound the ball, find ways where we can take shots. And that worked when you had Will Levis and Wandale Robinson. When you have 2 NFL players. When you have Cutter Boley and Kendrick Law, that's not the same. So I think the time has just passed us by. I think it's passed Stoops by in the way he wants to win. Because I just don't think that's a way that you can win in the SEC because we're not going to out Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia has all of this history, has everything. Kentucky football has none of that. Even though I'd like to argue the opposite as a Kentucky fan. I think the time has passed it by. Obviously, we'll talk more about that as the season goes. But if you're talking about my win-loss predictions, at this point, 4.5 was our season total. If I'm being honest, without the fan glasses on, I'm looking at 3 wins for this team. And because those 3 wins, that's obviously you getting that Tennessee Tech win. And if we don't get that win, I think then you have a bigger problem. We really have to talk about things. But do you feel confident in them beating Louisville right now?
Nope.
Vanderbilt, Auburn? I mean, the only one of those games that you look at and you're like, I think Kentucky might have a chance, is against Florida. And that's a team who destroyed you last year, and their running back and quarterback are coming back.
Yep.
Granted, I think our defensive front's gotten better, especially in run defense. That's the most winnable game. And even then, you're talking about you win that game, congratulations, you just won 4 games. I'm about as down and out on this Kentucky football program as I probably have been in years. And it really sucks to see, Coach Stoops take us to heights that we hadn't been to yet as a program. But when he's going to leave and when it's his time to, hit the door, he's going to be leaving us in the same spot that he came.
Yeah, I'm actually very much so on the same page. I actually, and I'll take a step further, I am genuinely worried about the Tennessee Tech game. I am genuinely worried. I think that Toledo was better than Tennessee Tech. However, we were motivated with that being the home opener, and we still played like crap. We go into Tennessee Tech, and we are not motivated, and we play slot football, and Tennessee Tech's midseason and playing with house money. I am genuinely worried that we will play a competitive game. I say that very strategically. I don't want to play a competitive game against Tennessee Tech. And so for that reason, I am sticking with it. I'm actually on the same page as you. I genuinely see this team only winning 3 games this year. Until they prove me otherwise, until they show me otherwise, I'm not even saying they have to win these next couple weeks. Obviously, that'd be nice. But they have to show some fight out there. They can't turn the ball over 4 times. They can't play the way they did. They can't have the offensive scheme or the offensive play style they have and expect the defense to go cover up all their messes. It's just not going to happen. Louisville has been playing okay, and just every other team that we're looking at right now, I just don't see us winning these games, and it's tough to see. It really is because we came in, we tried to overhype it. We all came out somehow. We all, with no bias, we all made our own schedules for the year. Said we were going to get 6 wins. We were going to figure it out, and we were all playing with the schedule. We figured it out somehow. and we're just not going to get there. Again, for the second year, we're going to go way below standard. And our standard was 4.5.
Yeah. And, well, I'm not there with you on the Tennessee Tech. I think that'll still be a 20-plus point game. Tennessee Tech is just not a good football team.
I know they're not, but at the same time, I worry about it with no motivation. We played like crap last year against teams that we were supposed to be Louisville last year.
Well, we were a double-digit underdog going into that Louisville game.
Okay, maybe that was just us overhyping it, but
that was just the rivalry talking. I was trying to always kick and beat up little brother L's down always. But yeah, I mean, this Tennessee, I'm not that far to where I think that this team is going to be in a competitive game with Tennessee Tech. But it's just the fact that you've already had 2 games that were somewhat winnable with Ole Miss and South Carolina when you looked at it preseason. Because I picked them to beat Ole Miss preseason. You had picked them to beat South Carolina preseason. So these were games coming into the season that you thought Kentucky had a chance.
I thought we were going to win one of them.
And the bad thing is that this South Carolina game is the one that fit your blueprint to win the best. And you didn't execute on it. And like we mentioned, when you have 4 turnovers, you're not going to win any game. But you can't keep doing that. Like Stoops mentioned, the ball bounces the wrong way. A tip pass is an interception for us, and a tip pass for them ends up being completion. Stuff like that happens. This is football. The part that concerns me the most about Stoops is that he is still continuously the martyr in saying, we had bad luck with this. Okay, that one tip pass that turned into an interception. All right, take those 7 points off the board. You just lost 28-13. You still lost by double digits to a team who the spread was 6.5. So Vegas thought you were better than this. I am personally just tired of the martyr Mark Stoops that we keep seeing. I'm hoping, and we usually play Georgia close. I've had this running thing of thinking why we play Georgia close is because they are Kirby and Mark are that close of friends that he doesn't want to do that to them. And I'm being genuine in saying that because if you watch the way Georgia plays Kentucky and watch the way they play other teams, it's not the same at all. You can say our style matches up well with them, and it does to an extent, but we have the same style. We do a lot of the same things. They just have a lot better athletes and a lot better players, a lot better coaches, a lot better staff, a lot better everything. It's Georgia football. And, I mean, for that reason, we're going to be at this game.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be awesome. We're going to be at this game live, covering it. University of Georgia, thank you so much for this opportunity for us to go down there. It's going to be, well, honestly, a lifelong dream to go down there. I've never been to Athens, Georgia. Never been between the hedges. Never actually credentialed for a game. So that's going to be awesome. So it's going to be the only time you're probably going to see me with a smile on my face while Kentucky's losing by 20 points. So I know we're probably going to get into our predictions here soon. I think I'm going to let you go first with the predictions and see what you got here and see if I'm either going to be too negative or if I'm going to be too positive.
I mean, to your point, they do play them pretty close. I had before the season, and even more so now, I have them. I'll just be candid with it. I have them losing this game. I already told you. I think that they're going to win 3 games this year. I think Tennessee Tech's their only other win for the year. I had them close to begin the year. I had them at 21-14 to start the beginning of the season.
I'd sign up for that now.
I don't know if I can give them 14. I think I can give them 10. And I think that if Mark Stoops and Kirby Smart are close like that and they want to be nice, you can keep them at 21, but I think they get at least 28. I think it ends up being 28-10. Georgia.
This is going to be the crazy thing because you watch, what was the final score last year? 13-12 was what we ended up losing by last year. Lost by a point, 13-12. So you would think let's stick to something like that. That's how those games usually go. They score a lot of points when we're down in Athens against us normally. For whatever reason, I mean, they've been prone to giving up points as well. They gave up a lot to Tennessee, only gave up 24 to Alabama. That's a good offense. They haven't been scoring the ball that well. And I think they're actually going to put an emphasis on getting that offense going and playing a little bit more up-tempo, so more plays for both our offense and their offense. For that reason, I'm going to go with a little bit higher of a score. I think this is going to be the first time Bush Hamden's scored 2+ touchdowns in an SEC game. Which, first off, we're in year 2. How's that not happened yet? And I'm probably one of the bigger like Bush Hamden, like, let's calm everybody down. Like, I'm not a fan, but let's not pick at his house.
This
outside.
guy wants him to be the next head coach of the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, I'm more just not calling for the guy's job, but
I am.
I think this is going to be one where I think you'll probably see Georgia score. I'm debating on whether I want to get into the 40s or not with Georgia, because this is also the first time we've faced them coming off of a loss. I don't know if you know.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to come off pissed off.
Much about Kirby Smart, but doesn't like to be embarrassed, especially at home. Mentioned the first loss in 6 years there between the hedges. I'm going to say this ends up being 38-21 Georgia. We end up keeping it a little closer than I would think. 17 points. You look back, there's going to be some drives that we just didn't capitalize on, whether it's play calling, there's going to be a turnover in there. I do think we put a big emphasis on not turning the ball over, and we only have one this week. I think that ultimately is going to come from Cutter Boley. But I do think this offense finds a way and finally hunkers down and says, hey, listen, we have to run the ball to score. And we've been able to run the ball so far. I think we'll find a way to get to, let me say 20 points, sorry. I'm going to go 35-20 is the final score. And you still don't feel any better or worse about this team. You're kind of just right in the middle. Like we are with almost all Georgia games. Georgia games, you usually go in thinking, we don't have a chance. And they find a way to almost win the game. And then you're so pissed off that they didn't win the game because they should have. And you're back in this, like, in-between range. I know I just did the 6-7 there. So, I mean that's where I'm at. I'm going to say 35-20 Dogs. Maybe 38-20. Yeah, let's go 38-20. I know I've switched the score like 4 times now. 38-20 Dogs. And you know who will be there to watch it? That's going to be us, Tyler. Do you got anything else to say before we sign off and go on our trip down to Athens?
No, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to be there. And look, for our listeners who have been there since the beginning here, this is a really cool moment. You guys probably know I used to work in the NFL. Being down there on the field, it's incredible to be there on game day. For us to have this experience here for our podcast, this is a really cool experience. We're going to miss Boyers, just like we did this week. We're going to miss him down there in Georgia. Maybe next time he'll take us up on our offer. I don't know. But it's going to be a really cool experience for the podcast. If we can pull out this win, there's going to be a celebration down in Athens. So if you're not there, you're going to want to be there because this guy goes crazy after a big win in Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
So he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to go crazy. So it's going to be exciting. Cam, do you have anything to add about your excitement for this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, this weekend's going to be great. I kind of already mentioned a lifelong dream to be able to do something like this, cover, my hometown team growing up, being able to do something like that. While I wasn't able to lace them up for the Cats, this is like the next best thing is being able to go down there and do that. So, keep along with all of our content we're going to put out on our way down there. We're going to do a vlog of the entire way down there. Obviously, before the game, we'll have content for you. I'm not sure if we have field access before the game. We'll have to double check on that. But whatever we can get you guys, whether that's player interviews, coach interviews, anything and everything, just keep on our TikTok, Cats Talk Podcast, YouTube, Spotify. Probably have a short episode for you immediately after the game, a little rapid reaction, something of that nature. But just keep with us. We're working through all these things. We're getting better week by week. I think Georgia noticed that. That's why we're on our way down to Athens this weekend. Hopefully the Cats are doing the same thing, better every week, and hopefully we can keep this game close. And you mentioned it. If I'm in Athens and the Cats pull off an upset, there will be a celebration, and I will need to find an extra night hotel stay. But, guys, that's all I got for you. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of the Cats Talk Podcast. The Wildcats face the Georgia Bulldogs, noon kickoff. We got to be up bright and early on Saturday.
This guy.
Yeah.
Booked us a hotel an hour away.
Noon kickoff on ABC. Any of your Kentucky Wildcats news, you get it right here at the Cats Talk Podcast. Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.